On July 31st, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the 71-year-old leader of al-Qaeda, stepped onto the third-floor balcony of his house in the Shirpur neighborhood of Kabul about 6:15 a.m. The CIA was watching. After hunting the co-planner of the September 11, 2001 attacks for more than 2 decades, U.S. intelligence personnel had tracked Zawahiri to a safe house owned by Sirajuddin Haqqani, acting Taliban Minister of the Interior and leader of the Haqqani network of the Taliban. For the CIA, the idea of finding and killing Zawahiri was payback. In 2009, 7 CIA personnel, along with 2 other people, died when a man claiming to have information about Zawahiri connived his way onto a U.S. base in Khost, Afghanistan, and detonated a suicide bomb. It was the deadliest attack on the CIA in more than a quarter century. For several years, the U.S. intelligence community had been tracking a network of people who supported Zawahiri, who took over al-Qaeda following bin Laden's death in 2011 during a U.S. raid in Abbottabad, Pakistan. As reported by the Washington Post, during June and July, teams gathered to vet the intelligence, ruling out any reasonable alternative explanation for who was hiding in the house. Government lawyers confirmed the legal basis for the operation, which is standard procedure for drone strikes. Zawahiri had a, quote, continuing leadership role in al-Qaeda, end quote, and had participated in and supported terrorist attacks. He was deemed a lawful target. By early July, intelligence personnel were nearly certain they had positively identified Zawahiri and had devised a way to kill only him. Of course, the U.S. had multiple options for how to take him out, but in this case, the CIA opted for a drone strike. The drone used in the strike was most likely a General Atomics MQ-1 Predator, which was conceived in the early 1990s for aerial reconnaissance and forward observation roles. The Predator is powered by a Rotax engine and driven by a propeller and can fly up to 400 nautical miles to a target, loiter overhead for 14 hours, then return to its base. The targeting is done using forward-looking infrared that's located under the nose of the airplane. It was modified later to carry the AGM-114 Hellfire missiles and other munitions. The U.S. military has routinely used Hellfire missiles to kill high-value targets, including a senior al-Qaeda leader in Syria last year and al-Qaeda propagandist Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen in 2011. As the CIA planned the strike, they were mindful that less than a year ago, a drone strike using a Hellfire missile struck a white Toyota Corolla sedan in a Kabul neighborhood and killed 10 civilians around and near the car, including 7 children. This strike happened in the midst of the chaotic U.S. military withdrawal from Afghanistan, and American forces believed there were explosives in the car and that it posed an imminent threat to troops on the ground. In hindsight, the strike was a tragic mistake. So the CIA carefully chose to use a type of Hellfire missile for this strike that greatly minimized the chance for other casualties. They used a Hellfire R9X, known by various nicknames including the Knife Bomb or the Flying Ginsu. Unlike other models of the Hellfire, the R9X does not carry an explosive payload. Instead, it has a series of 6 rotating blades that pop out in the endgame, which opens up obstructions and allows the missile to get to the target without having to use an explosive warhead. According to the Washington Post, on July 1st, President Biden convened a meeting in the White House Situation Room with key advisors and cabinet members to go over the intelligence and the strike plan. On the table between them was a small wooden box with metal latches on the sides and a handle on the top, which contained a tiny scale model of Zawahiri's safe house. More than 3 weeks later, on July 25th, President Biden convened a final briefing. At the end of that meeting, Biden asked the opinion of each advisor, whether or not they approved of the strike, and they all said yes. So on July 31st, Zawahiri stepped onto the balcony by himself, and at 6:18 a.m., the CIA drone in the sky above fired 2 R9X Hellfire missiles. Post-strike BDA determined that only Zawahiri was killed. His family remained safe inside the house, and no civilians were harmed outside. After the strike, Haqqani Taliban members tried to conceal Zawahiri's presence at the safe house. Taliban officials were quick to protest the drone strike, saying it violated the Doha Agreement, to which the U.S. countered that harboring terrorists was also a violation of the agreement that justified the strike. So the location of this strike makes for terrible optics for the Taliban. He wouldn't have lived in that neighborhood without some Taliban leaders' knowledge. This exposes the strong, persistent tie between al-Qaeda and the Taliban. According to analysis by Vanda Felbob Brown at the Brookings Institute, since August 2021, new foreign fighters have come into Afghanistan from the Middle East, Pakistan, and Central Asia in considerable numbers. The Taliban has been reluctant to hamper this influx, since any visible Taliban actions against foreign fighters would make them appear to be betraying the broader jihadi brotherhood and jeopardize the Taliban's foreign funding. According to Brown, overall, the Taliban's key focus and the determinant of its counter or pro-terrorism posture is preserving Taliban unity and preventing defections from the Taliban to the Islamic State in Khorasan, the ISK, the Taliban's principal armed rival and enemy within Afghanistan and a vicious terrorist group. Ironically, angry speculations within the Taliban of who from within the group provided intelligence on Zawahiri and Zira Judan's inability to protect him may cause some defections to the ISK. This incident has proved a couple of things. First, critics who were concerned that the Biden administration's pullout from Afghanistan was abrupt and chaotic and would lead to terrorists returning to Afghanistan were correct. Al-Qaeda, ISK, ISIS, and other terrorist groups are back, and it looks like Kabul is once again a friendly place for them to hang out. However, and this is ironic, since candidate Joe Biden, when running against Barack Obama in the 2008 presidential race, opposed Obama's surge plan for Afghanistan, instead recommending a strategy of counterterrorism operations where we would do quick reaction strikes from surrounding countries using things like drones instead of drawing out the war for another 10 years or so and putting 130,000 boots on the ground. What this strike proves is we still have enough human intelligence and assets in the region to find, track, and kill high-value targets. And the last thing to think about here is while the Pentagon is concerned with near-peer threats and the return to the high-end fight, the terrorist threat is not gone. And some national security experts say it's more likely that we would be attacked by al-Qaeda than Russia or China. All right, updates on this and other stories as they become available. So if you're not already a subscriber, click the button so you don't miss anything. And I look forward to talking to you again very soon.